All right, now, the intention for this conversation, this Hoodoo conversation, is for us to discuss root work, the root, working the root, right? Now, with that being stated, I want to be clear, as I told y'all before, my notes are hefty and they are a little all over the place, right? Because as I was writing my notes, I was like, okay, my intention here is for us to discuss what a root is and how to lay a root. But then when I was writing the steps, y'all know I love a good five, huh? It was supposed to only be five. Mm. But I was like, okay, but if you, but a part of that step, they got to do a little of this. Okay, but then a part of that step, they're gonna need a bit of this. Okay, but once we get to that, they got to do this. Okay, but you can't lay the root if you don't ask yourself this. So it turned from 5 steps to 10 steps with some asterisks. Okay, 10 steps with some sprinkles in each step. Okay, because I didn't want to discuss herbs like a herbalism course because I feel like I've already talked about, and I in the Patreon, like I told y'all, we have list of my favorite protection herbs, my favorite abundance herbs, dispelling herbs, da 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 da, right? We have that, but herbs will be included in the conversation. But also, we got to talk about candles and do like a quick overview of candle colors and purposes. But we also got to talk about left hand versus right hand work and what's considered justifiable. But then we also have to talk about the elements in each element because all of that is a part of the root and working the root. So the intention for this conversation is for us to discuss what is a root and how to lay a root. But within that, we're going to discuss all of that. We're going to discuss all of that within that. Now, let me be clear. At the end, we will do thoughts and feels, and y'all can ask any questions. However, I am not laying the root for you. That's your business. It's up to you to put your root together. I'm giving you the steps on how to put your root together. Don't be asking me no questions talking about if my coworker had talked about me to the boss, what is the exact route I should do for them? That's your business. I'm giving you the steps. Pick and choose based on the steps. But y'all can ask any questions of anything you feel like I missed or any clarifying questions you need on things like that. Okay. Now, without further ado, let's just start from the very beginning. Now, oftentimes when we talk about root work, and root work is one of the foundational principles of hoodoo, people often think about trees and plants and herbs, right? Which is understandable because that is a part of root work. But the root just simply means the foundation, the core, the start, the beginning. That is what the root is. When we talk about working the root, we're talking about working the root, utilizing roots as far as herbs, but working the root, the core, the foundation, the beginning of who somebody or something is. Just like plants have a root, just like the trees and all of that have a root, every flower has a root. You too, as a human being, have a root. Your root is your core energy. It's your internal source, your internal being. That is the root, right? Your core energy. When we talk about working the roots, we're talking about utilizing the core energy of those plants, of the elements, of our cells to shift, transmute, and direct energy in the way that we want it to go. So the root is the core energy of all beings. That's what the root is. All beings, all manifestations of spirit. The root is the spirit, the core energy. The work is the direction to direct that energy, to transmute that energy. That is the work. So, how do we define root work? Root work is the process of directing or transmuting the energy, the core energy of a being. That's all it is. That's all root work is. Okay. So when you talk about working the roots, and I want to bring us back to one of our book club reads many moons ago, which was Working the Roots by Michelle E. Lee. Working the Roots by Michelle E. Lee is a book where she, and this is one of the reasons why it's on my list of recommendations for some one, honestly, to me, one of the best books about hoodoo. If y'all don't have that book, y'all need to get that book, huh? I got it over here somewhere, but I'm gonna be honest with y'all, I'm a real bitch. I was folding clothes. I ain't put the clothes away yet, y'all. I got a pile of clothes stacked up on top of the book. I ain't about to fuck up my pile to get the book. Y'all have seen it, okay? But it's a nice, thick textbook style book, right? Working the Root by Michelle E. Lee. The reason that that is one of my favorites is because if you actually read that book, where she traveled all throughout America to discuss root work with different elders. And yes, these elders were given a lot of recommendations and reminiscing on how they use certain herbs to heal and to fix. But if you really read the stories, they always talked about the energy. They always talked about the energy of the person or the energy of the herb or the energy of what was going on. If somebody was real sick, this is how their energy was, and this is how we wanted it to be, right? So they were always talking about the energy. Again, I heavily, heavily, heavily advise y'all to take your time and read that book because the whole front of the book is literally testimonials from elders. I ain't talking about like myself, who I'm still in my 30s, right? And some people consider me an elder, but I'm a young girl still, you know, in my 30s. I'm talking about she talking to folks 70, 80, 90 plus reading that book. You know what I'm saying? In that book. So that's one where you getting it from elders in wisdom and also elders in age. You see what I'm saying? And in the back of the book, she also has a glossary of different herbs and things like that. Again, I can't say enough. That is a great, great book, right? But again, if you look at the stories, they always talk about the energy and what was the energy of the herbs, what was the intention of the herb, da 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 da, right? So again, working a root, to work a root is to direct or transmute the energy, the core energy of a being. Everything has a root. Every living thing has a core energy. Every living thing has a root. And you have the power to direct that energy or transmute that energy. Now, who can work a root? Anybody with the intention and the knowledge and wisdom and skill. And I say skill because it takes practice, and the more you do it, the better you get, right? So you will have to practice. That's one side of who can work a root. Who can be rooted? Anybody or anything that has core energy can be rooted. Anybody's energy can be directed or transmuted. Anybody's energy. Nobody or nothing is exempt from a root. Now, here's the kicker: you have the power to root yourself. Most of us in this room have rooted ourselves. We've worked ourselves. When you practice your manifestation workings, that's a root work. You are shifting, transmuting, or directing your energy or the energy of the universe to work in your favor. You have rooted yourself. You have worked a root in favor, hopefully in favor and not against yourself. So you too are capable of being worked. If you've ever manifested anything for yourself in your life, you worked yourself. If you've manifested a healing in yourself, you've worked yourself. If you've manifested some money for yourself, you've worked yourself. You rooted that money. You got to the root, the core energy of the energy of money, and you directed it in your direction. You rooted. You rooted, baby. You rooted. So you cannot doubt that you have the ability or have the power to be able to do this. You just have to open yourself up and be super intentional about studying the energy of every being. And this connects to our new moon work. Because remember, I said, study the divine flow of all energy. Study the divine flow of all energy. Study the root, the core, the function of all energy. In order to be a good root worker, you need to know the energy that you are working. And I'm not just talking about energy in the universe as far as like plants, the sun, the moon, etc. Those are all beautiful energies to be able to utilize to work in your favor. I'm also talking about if you want to root and direct and transmute the energy of abundance via money, you need to study the energy of money. If you are trying to root a person and work a person, you need to study that person's core energy, right? Side notes. Okay, and again, this is why, mind you, I'm only on line 2 of my notes, huh? But this is why I was like, okay, there's a lot of different things within these things we got to talk about because this is a side note. This is also why you got to be mindful of motherfuckers around you studying you too hard and watching you too hard and mirroring your behaviors and asking you 50,000 questions about 50,000 everythings that you got going on about you. Because some people are trying to study your root so they can learn how to work you. This is also why you got to be careful about how much stuff you share about yourself. And remember, I told y'all something I realized, a lot of people talk about growing up hoodoo. And yes, having the knowledge and growing up in spirituality and like that type of energy is great, right? And all of these superstitions is great and fun. But there was a level of paranoia, and some of that I had to undo in my mind, right? Because that was a common paranoia in root working families, was that can't share too much, can't say too much, don't show too much. Somebody might try to work you. Hide your drawers. Don't let no be careful when folks try to go through your drawers. And I'm not talking about just pants, I'm talking about drawers in the house, like dresser drawers. They might try to get your panties and get this and get that. Don't hide the hairbrushes and the comb. Somebody might try to get your hair. Da, 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 da. Don't let nobody touch you. Da, da, da. It was so much paranoia around like this fear of people will study your energy and potentially try to get close to you just so they can work you. But they were right. And that's one of the things that as I got older, I realized that they were right. There was a reason why your mama said, that girl watch you too hard. She's trying too hard to be like you. You need to stay away from her. A part of it is energy vampires. A part of it is something about your energy that they want, that they are trying to take and siphon from you. That's the energy vampire. But also a part of it is they just want to stop you from being you. They want to be able to work you, direct your energy, transmute, change your energy. They want to stop you from glowing. Some people want some of your glow, and some people want to stay dull, but they just don't want to see you motherfucking glow no more. So this is why you have to be extra careful about just not revealing too much and protecting your energy. Yes, protect those physical things. And this is something I learned as I got older. As I got older, I learned the value of protect those physical things like your combs and brushes, and don't allow people in your bedroom. That was always a big rule. Nobody could go in the bedroom. I understand that, right? But the key thing I learned is you have to protect yourself, right? Protect your core energy. I had to learn to be more secretive because my rebellion against my family and these superstitions and kind of feeling like, oh my God, y'all are so paranoid was, you know, friendly. I'm going to share and I'm going to talk. And if I have plans, why wouldn't I discuss my goals and my dreams? And why wouldn't I discuss how my brain works and like thoughts and ideas and things like that? But something I've learned over time is no, they were right because all of that is a part of your core energy. All of that, your thoughts, your ideas, your philosophies, your values, your morals, all of that is a part of your core energy. And it's not to say that you can't share any of it, but don't ever share all of it. It's not to say you can't share any of it because that's where the paranoia, like I said, that was the extreme version where it's like, don't you tell nobody. Like, okay, but don't share all of it. Don't give anybody the blueprint of who you are. Never give anybody your blueprint of who you are. Okay. That's like Bank of America going in and giving everybody the codes to all the safety lock boxes shits. You know what I'm saying? That's like that. Don't give everybody your codes. Don't give everybody your information. Some things you got to keep sacred. Okay. So I have to share that. Right. Now, we talked about what root work is. We talked about who can work a root. We talked about who can be worked, right? And anything can be worked. Like I said, anybody and anything can be worked. Anything with a core energy, the energy of abundance, the energy of money, the energy of love, the energy of people, the energy of the plants, of the wind, anything can be worked, right? Anything can be shifted and moved, okay? Now an example that I could give of the reason why you need to protect yourself because somebody may try to work you and you don't even know. I want y'all to think back to when we read the book Root Work, right? And remember at the end of the book, she was giving her different recommendations about different type of workings. And remember she said, if you want to get pregnant, you need to find a pregnant woman and touch her belly and essentially direct that energy toward you. That's energy vampire shit. That's root working. So you could be a pregnant woman and somebody could be touching your belly with the intention of pulling some of your energy, right? And that's in a book, that's in a guide that people are reading. And that's true. People do that all the time, right? When somebody's rubbing their hands through your hair, oh, I wish I had some nice, long, pretty hair like this. Oh, I wish I had this beautiful fro. I wish I had this beautiful thick fro like this. They pulling at that energy, baby. So it's not always people think about root workers and they think it's somebody like, ooh, da, 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 da. No, sometimes the root worker is the person that's running their fingers through your hair, complimenting you, talking about how they wish they had it. It's the person rubbing your belly saying, I can't wait till it's my turn. It's the person looking at your wedding ring and saying, ooh, me next. And not to say that you can't intentionally share in that energy, but it should be your choice to share in that energy. It should be your choice. So it's not to say that you can't allow that, but you have to have the wherewithal and the awareness that I want if I'm around this person and I know this person is struggling with infertility, it should be my choice to say, here, touch my belly, sis, and get some of this energy. If I know I'm around this person and they struggling with a relationship or struggling with finding a man, I should be able to say, girl, you better touch this wedding ring and rub this ring for good luck, girl. You're going to get some of this good love energy, girl. It should be your choice to give your energy away. But nobody should be able to take your energy without your consent. Okay? So that's the point here. All right? Yes, same thing with crystals and all of that stuff. Okay? Now we're going to get to the steps. Okay, now we're gonna get to the steps. Steps to lay a root. Steps to lay a root. The first step. What is the intent? And this is gonna be a cluster of questions, huh? A little cluster. What is the intention for the root? Is the intention for you or for someone else? What is the intention of the root? Is the intention basically is the root for you or is the root for somebody else? If it's for someone else, or even really if it's for yourself too, is this considered left hand or right hand work? And this, whether if it's left hand or right hand, is going to determine the rest of your root and how you work it. Okay. Now, what is the intention for the root? This is going to be key. How do you know what your intention is? Number one, is the root for you? Is the root going to be for me or is the root going to be for somebody else? Right? If the root is for you, this now could be a mojo bag. You could plant the root somewhere, which we'll get to later. You could plant the root somewhere later. That's the laying the root down. You could lay the root down. When somebody say, "Oh, I laid the root," that means that they've planted the root somewhere. Okay, so that's where the different terminology, ancestrally and elder wise, come from. If you hear an elder be like, "Oh, I laid a root down," that means they planted it somewhere. Okay, if somebody say, "I fixed a root," that usually is referring to or inferring that they did a root against somebody else or for somebody else, right? And a root is not always a bad thing, right? Again, the root is just the process, or working the root is the process of working the core energy. So don't just because somebody say they fixed the root or they laid a root, it doesn't mean that they did a bad thing. It's society who associated these bad connotations with that type of shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, somebody put a root on you. It's just automatic assumption it's a bad thing. A root can be a good thing, right? Now, if the root is for yourself, everything, all these next steps, it's going to be easy because you know yourself, right? You know your energy. You know what works for you. But if the root is for somebody else, You need to make sure you have studied their root. You have studied their core energy. You studied their spirit. Okay? The more you know about the spirit of a person, the easier it is to work them. I'm gonna put this out, so I ain't even gonna say that. But if, I ain't gonna say that how I was gonna say that. But if y'all remember when there was a specific public thing happening, and remember after the results came back, we had an exclusive live about it. And if y'all remember that exclusive live, I said the root would have been better if they would have worked the people instead of trying to work the results. They should have worked the people. And it would have been easy to work the people because they had put so much information out about the people. You could have looked up the people's age. You could have looked up the people's occupation. You could have looked up so much about those people to determine their energy, to get an idea of their energy. So that's surface level information to study about somebody, like their age and occupation and all of that stuff. That's surface level information, huh? Detailed, if you are really trying to work somebody, and I'm not saying you should do this, I always have to get this caveat, but this is, I'm teaching you how to lay a root now. Okay, so I'm gotta get, you need to get close to them. The more details that you know about a person's energy beyond just the mask is the physical body. So the going to work and the age and the birthday and all of that stuff, that's good information. You could label something with that now. But if you know how they think, if you know their emotions, you know how they feel, if you know what they believe, if you know what they do spiritually, if you know their prayers and their chants and their everything like that, it's easier to work them. It's easier to work them. Okay, yes, their schedule, etc. The key is study their energy, right? Study their energy, their highs, their lows, their ups, their downs. It's easier to work somebody when they're energetically low. Okay, that's another lesson. It's easier to work a person when they're energetically low, when they're sleepy, when they're sick. Any of those, they're energetically low. It's easier to work them in those moments. Okay, so you study their being, their energy, their root, right? You study them in that way. I'm just being honest now. And again, some of this, people may be like, oh, this is a little intense for me. This is a little intense. This real root work now. Again, this ain't about herbs only. Okay, this is real work in the root. Studying the core energy of somebody, also study their ancestors and the energy of their ancestors. Study their children, the energy that has been birthed from them. It's a reason why our ancestors and elders, I've heard mine out their own ear, when they curse somebody, say, and your children's children will be cursed. Okay? And I'm just being real now. Study the energy because all ancestral energy and future generation energy is all connected to their energy. The same way our ancestral energy our energy is connected to our ancestors, right? It's a reason that all of these energies have been connected and manifested in human form, right? And it could be because we are all a part of the same soul group, or in Ishe, they would call it egg bay, etc. It's many reasons that this could be like this, right? But it's a reason. So it's easier to work somebody the more you know about them. This is also why, warning, 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 you got to mind who's around your children and who around your babies. It's the reason why elders say everybody don't need to keep their baby. It wasn't just about sexual abuse. Not letting everybody keep your children and be around your children wasn't just about sexual abuse, because let's be smart here. Unfortunately, most of our elders ain't give a fuck about sexual abuse. How long was the nasty ass uncle around and shit like that? Not letting most people keep your kids was not just about sexual abuse. It was about people being concerned that people would use your own kids to root you or root you through your children, right? It was to protect that root, protect that core energy, the root of your family, right? Keep that in mind, okay? Now, who's the root for? Study the core energy. And the reason I'm telling y'all that is because, like I said, the next steps, it's going to be easier for you to gather your elements and your tools. We still on step one here. Is it left hand or right hand work? Is it left hand or right hand work? The reason you have to ask yourself, is it left hand or right hand work, is because if it's right hand work, that means it's usually dealing in manifestation work, right? Right hand work could also be dealing in healing by manifesting. Now, what's the difference between, and left hand is dispelling, right? Getting rid of something or doing something to hurt or harm, right? Now, what's the difference between manifesting or dispelling? When you are manifesting, you are trying to attract, you're trying to add on, right? Or you could be trying to change and transmute. All of that is a part of manifestation work. Left hand work is for dispelling, it's for removing, it's for getting rid of, right? I say what I like to associate it with is the right hand is birth, the left hand is death work, right? But both can be about the energy of transition, right? Now, the reason that you need to distinguish is because what hand you, what, whether if it's right hand or left hand, is the hand that's going to work your root. So if it's right hand work, you're going to be using the right hand to do everything, to light your candle, to, that's the hand that you, when you go to cleanse your tools, you're going to be holding your tools in your right hand and cleansing with the left, right? So that's the hand that you'll be doing everything with. If you planting it somewhere, let's say you planting it at the railroad tracks, when you release it, you're going to use your right hand and you're going to lay it down at the railroad tracks, or you're going to lay it down at the tree, or you're going to release it to the water with your right hand. Okay. Now, if it's left hand work, same thing. Everything should be done with the left hand. When it's time for you to cleanse it, you're going to be holding it with your left hand, and you're going to be using the fire or using the smoke or whatever with the right. Okay. You, everything will be held in your left hand. When it's time to lay it, all of that done with the left hand. Okay. Now, left hand work to dispel, to get rid of, to put a stop to, all of that is left hand work, right? My cousin trying to sneak out and move quietly. Salam don't let a motherfucker move quietly around this bitch, okay? You ain't, Salam ain't gonna let that nigga move quiet around here, okay? But if it's left hand work, again, you're trying to stop, you're trying to dispel any of that, trying to slow something down. All of that would be considered left hand work. Now, what you have to ask yourself with left hand work, because you can do left hand work for yourself, right? For example, if you're sick and you want to get rid of something out of your body, that's left hand work, right? That's left hand work, because you're trying to remove something out of your body. You're trying to dispel something out of your body, right? If you got somebody in your life that you need to remove from your life, or a habit or something you need to get out of your life, that's left hand work. You need to get that out of your life. You're trying to remove that. If you got something you're trying to put a stop to that's going on around you or going on in your life, that's left hand work. You're trying to stop it, okay? Now, if you're trying to do some left hand work against somebody else, you have to ask yourself, is it justifiable? And this is why I said what I said earlier when I was like, when we do thoughts, feels, questions, do not ask me about specific personal situations, because I cannot determine, I'm not going to give you a route to work anything or anybody, including yourself, because I can't determine for you whether or not that's justifiable. Is it justifiable? What's justifiable to different people is different. I have my own code of morals, values, ethics, which is justifiable to me. You have to determine for you what's justifiable for you. For example, some people, gossiping is justifiable for them to use that left hand. Somebody talk bad about you. I've seen people who they getting drug on social media. They pulling out the left hand, right? Somebody disagree with them, literally. Somebody disagree with them on the internet. They doing some, they putting them on the altar, putting them in a jar. They doing, you know what I'm saying? To them, that's justifiable. Some folks cheating. Your man cheat on you, you pulling that left hand. You know what I'm saying? Somebody took your man, you gonna root that woman. Use your left hand. You know what I'm saying? So different things is justifiable to different people. It's not up to me to determine for you what's justifiable. You have to determine that, because what you also have to be willing to do is eat that karma up when it come back. And I'm not going to determine it, because I don't want to deal with your karma. That's not my business. You got to be willing that if this reverses, if this comes back to you, you don't know who that person's ancestors are. You might, but you don't know for sure who that person's ancestors are. You don't know what type of protection or reversals that person is doing. If that energy bounces back to you times 10, times 3, Are you willing to deal with it? So you determine for you what's worth that left hand. Okay? You determine that. Okay? But remember, whether if it's right hand or left hand, then that's the hand you're going to use moving forward. Now, step 2, you have to write down your intention very clearly. Now, what you write your intention on, this could be it all is has to, and let me be clear here. This is when we will get into like herbs a little bit, tiny bit. Whatever you write your intention on, it needs to be in alignment with your intention. It needs to be in alignment. If you are going, it could be a piece of paper if you want to, but what is the energy of paper? What is paper made of? Quickly in the chat. Come on. What is paper made of? Quickly. Quickly. Absolutely. Absolutely. You have all different types of paper. You got bamboo, you got all different types of paper, right? Yes, sometimes cotton. What is the energy of whatever you're writing on? You could write your intention on money. What is the energy of money? What is the energy of the tree? What is the energy of cotton? What is the energy of the bay leaf? What is the energy? What is the brown paper bag made of? And what is the energy of the brown paper bag? Whatever you write it on, it should be in alignment with the energy of what your intention is. Now let's get to the intention clearly here. Every intention carries the energy. This is what you have to ask yourself, okay? And that's why I said the notes, how this goes is going to sound a little jumbled because everything mixes together. Remember I said I was writing the notes and I was like, oh, but then if we talk about that, we got to talk about this. If we talk about that, we got to talk about this. Here's where we get to it. Because every intention has an energy. If you are trying to and this is where you have to ask yourself, what am I trying to do to the root? What am I rooting? What am I directing the energy of, transmuting the energy of? How am I directing it or transmuting it? What am I doing? What is my intention here? Every intention has an element, right? How do you get to the element of your intention? What you have to ask yourself is, what am I doing to the root? What am I doing to the core energy? Am I directing it toward me? Am I trying to bring it in divine flow toward me? Or am I trying to remove it, dispel it, remove it away from me? Or am I trying to shift it and transmute it? If you're trying to move it in divine flow towards you, this is when you want to use things, the element of water. If you're trying to dispel it and get it out of your life, your go-to element, the element of your root, is going to be fire. If you're trying to shift it and transmute it and change it, then the element of your root is going to be air. And if you want it to be still and you want something or somebody to stay in your life, something you already have, and you just want it to grow and prosper, earth. Earth. Hopefully somebody could put that in the chat for those who missed it. I'm not repeating it again because we got a lot to go. So that's one of the reasons why I said in the description at a post, I said, y'all ain't gonna be repeating stuff because we got a lot to go. All right. But you have to know your intention so you can know your element. And everything that you use should be in alignment with your intention. It is in alignment with your intention if it's in alignment with the element of your intention. You understand that? If you want to know, is this in this? That's a cheat code. You want to know if this is in alignment with your intention. Is it in alignment with the element of my intention? So what am I writing my intention on? What is the element of what I'm writing on? What is the element of what I'm using? Writing does not always have to be on something solid like paper. You can scribe in water. Some people, when I say write it, they think that means that it has to be on paper. You can scribe in water. You can, how I'm doing right now, where you can write and scribe in air. This is energy we're talking about here. Okay? This is energy we're talking about here. You can scribe in smoke. Okay? You can also use ash to represent air. Just in case if you want it visible and you want to be able to see it, you can use ash to represent air. Okay, so ash will be fine and you can just write in ash. Okay, if it's fire, you can burn it into the paper. You can also write on whatever you're using and burn the edges of it. That's one of the ways when I'm doing something for dispelling, I'll write on whatever I'm using and burn the edges of it. And that's my symbol that this is for release or dispelling. Okay, something to consider. All right, and also you can write it in blood. And blood represents a few things. And now something written in blood should be like for war workings or abundance manifestation workings. Okay, that's what the blood should be used for. And the reason it could be used for war workings is because of the iron of the blood and connected to Ogun. But if you are not an Orisha person, that's completely fine. You don't have to use it for that. The good thing about scribing or writing utilizing the blood is because the blood can also represent the liquid or the water. The blood can also represent the connection to the DNA. So that also serves as another part of the root, right? But you should only be using the blood if the root is for you. Now, if you have the blood of whoever you're rooting, that's a benefit, which is one of the reasons why you don't leave your pads and tampons and things everywhere. Hello? You don't just lay a band aid down. Hello? Okay, now. When you write your we're still on step two. Told y'all we got a lot to go. We're still on step two, huh? Now, when you write your intention down, this is how you need to write it down. Who is this for? Say their name or the name of the thing, the energy being. Say yourself. That's when you started with the I, right? You want to, the next thing is the what are they doing? So who, what are they doing? But it should be written in present. Not what will they do, what are they doing? Again, what is the root? So, what are they doing? You need to write it like it's happening. For example, if you are desiring to manifest some money, I am abundant. I'm not saying I am attracting or I am coming into or I am moving into. I am abundant with however much money or money or whatever, right? I am abundant with. If I'm trying to give examples without using like left hand type of root somebody type of examples. Say fixing a healing for somebody, right? Let's say Marsha is healed from such and such, such, such. That's your what? Who is is Marsha? What is Marsha? Marsha is healed from such and such, such, right? So your who, your what, as though it's happening, your why. What is this going to do? But you're writing it as though it's doing it. Martha is healed from such and such, such, so she can walk her son. So she is walking her son at through down the aisle or da 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 da. She is living a long, prosperous, healthy, peaceful life. She is able to da 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 da. Why is Marsha healed from this? What is the intent of Marsha's healing? So your intent is to heal Marsha, but why? Why? What is the intent of Marsha's healing? Okay, you're trying to manifest this money for yourself, but what is the intent of this money? I am abundant with X and X amount of dollars or with money. So I am da 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 da, and I am doing XYZ with the money. I am feeding the community and prospering and elevating my family in abundance and protecting my whatever you're gonna do with it. What is the why? Okay, this is still we all in step two now. So your who, your what, your why. The next part is optional. If you want to, depending on what the root is, you can add a where depending on what the root is. What's an example of a where root? Now, a lot of the examples of where roots is just going the first thing I could think of is the left hand, right? For example, if you are trying to remove somebody from the workplace, right? So this person is removed from this workplace, or this person is removed because of da 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 from this workplace because da 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 da. So where are they removed from? Where? That's why I said the where is optional because you might not have a where and that's okay. All right. Another option, this is also optional, the when. When is it happening? It's up to you whether or not you want to set a date. But of course, we know spirit is the final decider of that. But it's up to you if you want to set a date or give a time, all of that stuff. That's up to you. Okay. Let me be clear about this. Still in step two, this is the end of step two. The how is always up to spirit. This is the reason why I said with the left hand, you need to be very clear about is it worth it? Because there have been many of occasions where people will lay a root or fix somebody to have them removed from their life, and that person dies, that person falls drastically ill, that person just disappears, etc., etc. Women with children praying the baby daddy out their life, and the children never see daddy again, right? People who have family members that they don't like, and they pray that that family member is removed, and that family member suddenly dies. So the how is always up to spirit. This is why, specifically with the left hand, you have to be careful. But this also connects to the law of detachment. Yes, go to jail, baby. I got a family story about that, honey. I got a family story about that, honey. I saw that happen firsthand. This being recorded, so I ain't gonna tell the business because we never know who might watch this. But I was a child, and the elders got on the phone and collectively did something. Three of them. This, three-way calls back in the day. I don't know if people still do three. Now we do group FaceTimes and shit, huh? But three-way calls. They got on a three-way call. They all came together. I forgot I could pause the recording. You right, D. Let me pause the recording. All right, we back at it. Let me give me a little water. I need a new bottle of water. Okay, so like I said, with the how, it's up to spirit to determine the how, huh? Now, next step, step 3. This is when you start gathering up your stuff. What element, herb, DNA, candle, and other tools are aligned with your intention? What element, herb, DNA, candle, and other tools are aligned with your intention? Okay, y'all don't ask me no questions now. Y'all save the questions for later. I'm not gonna remember the questions. Save the questions for the thoughts and feels. Huh? Now, this is where we got to go. I got to scroll up in the notes now so I could give you the elements. We talked about the elements. Let's review the elements again. I got a little quick blurb about herbs, a little quick blurb about DNA, because we already taught a class on DNA. That's in the Patreon. You could just type DNA, it's notes in there. That's in the Patreon. That was a Patreon exclusive many, many, many moons ago about DNA. So you could just type DNA in the Patreon and that should pop up. So I'm going to give you a little splurge on that, but you could go there into those notes for detail. And then I got a little splurge about candles. Okay, so this is everything I'm about to say now is all connected to step 3. All right. Elements. Going back to the elements. Water. Okay. Water. Water is all about flow, divine flow, moving something toward you. Okay. That's all about water. So if you want to manifest something, attract something, the energy of water, divine flow, bringing something towards you. Also connected to divine feminine, right? So if you're trying to do something for a divine feminine energy in your life, right? Connecting to the who the person is. It could be centered in the energy of water. Something dealing around womb work, womb wellness, manifesting something for womb work, womb wellness, fertility, etc. Water, okay? The element of fire is all about purification, dispelling, and sacred masculine. If you're trying to do something for the men in your life or for the masculine energy in your life, or the masculine energy of whatever you are, the energy that you are working with, it could be another something, right? That has spirit energy. Whatever energy you're working with, that would be fire, okay? Now, I know y'all already thinking, can we combine elements? Can we combine elements? Yes, you can use more than one element, but what is your intent of the root? Are you trying to direct something towards you? Are you trying to dispel it and get it away from your life? That is going to be your primary. So you can have a primary element and a secondary element. Your primary element is centered around the working. How are you trying to work this energy? That's the primary element. And the secondary element is centered around, well, who are you working or what are you working? That could be the secondary element, but the primary is focusing on the direction of the energy. Okay. So again, the water will be attracting divine flow towards you. Fire will be purification, dispelling, getting it away from you. Land is going to be for protection, safety, keeping something that you have already in your life and allowing it to grow and flourish. So centered around protection, safety, as well as growth work. Okay. Air is for transmuting, changing the direction of, also transformation. That's going to be air. Now, herbs. And again, as you're gathering all of this, you should have your intention in mind. Herbs. All herbs have physical and spiritual purposes. All herbs do. All herbs have physical and spiritual purposes. You need to know the physical and spiritual purpose of your herbs, specifically because it is best, y'all, it is best if you can gather, hello, if you can gather herbs that share the same physical and spiritual purpose as your intention. Okay? If you can, now it don't always have to be both, because sometimes I even do this myself. Sometimes I might have a herb that is used for abundance, and that's the spiritual purpose of it. And then I may have another herb that is used for uh let's say healing something, or like let me think of a specific word and give a let's say cayenne pepper. Cayenne pepper, one of my favorites to recommend. Cayenne spiritually is a catalyst to speed something up. Cayenne physically is a dispelling herb. It gets things out of the body. Cayenne can clear your sinuses. It can detox you, right? So the physical purpose of the herb is to detox, dispel, get rid of, right? But the spiritual purpose of the herb is to speed up. Sometimes I may not be using cayenne pepper for the physical purpose, right? Which is a detoxer, a purifier, a cleanser. I may use that cayenne pepper just to specifically be a catalyst and speed up. Ideally, though, you would have a herb that has the same physical and spiritual purpose, but it's not always easy to do that or get that, right? It's not always easy to have a herb or find herbs that have the same purpose. So you can pick and choose what you're using for what. Okay. Another thing about herbs, it's also best if you use the herbs that share the same element as well as physical and spiritual purpose. Research the elements of your specific herb. Every herb have an element. Okay, like cinnamon is a fire herb. Cayenne pepper is a fire herb, right? Ginger is a fire herb. Basil is an air herb, right? So every herb has an element. Research the elements of your herbs. So how do you do this in order? You could do it in any order, honestly. Sometimes I will know the elements of an herb, and I will know my element, and I'll say, okay, well, I know this herb and this herb and this herb and this herb, and I'll run through my list of water herbs or my list of air herbs or my list of, and I've been doing this a long time, so I have a lot of this stored in my mind, right? But sometimes I will also research, right? I'll Google, I'll reference certain books and things like that. But I'll run through it, right? And then also a good way to know the element of the herb is to if you know how what it physically does to the body or what it does spiritually, that's also a good way to know the herbs, right? So sometimes I'll know the element of my working and I'll say, okay, well, let me get all the herbs that are in alignment with this element. And then I ask myself, okay, well, running through the list in my mind, running through the catalog, well, what is the intention of this herb? What is the spiritual purpose of this herb? What is the physical purpose of this herb? Is that in alignment with my working at all? If it's not, then I can't use that herb. So just because the herb has the same element, if the herb doesn't have the physical or spiritual purpose, I can't use it, right? You want a herb that has the same elements and the same physical or spiritual purpose of the herb. Okay. And again, an easy way to know the element of the herb is to know how it physically works the body. Okay. Or the spiritual purpose of the herb. Okay. Think about it. One of my cheat code, one of them, because it's not always foolproof. If it detoxes and get rid of the body, get rid of stuff out the body, it's usually a fire herb. If a ginger, spicy, it's gonna detox you. You breathe that horseradish, spicy, it's gonna detox you. Those are fire herbs, right? So that's like a quick cheat code. That's very easy. If it works the kidneys, cleanses the kidneys, heals the kidneys, things like that, it's usually gonna be centered around water. It's usually gonna be a water herb. Things that's good for the lungs are usually gonna be your air herbs. Okay. So that's a good way to kind of know the difference. All right. Now that's it for the herbs. Okay. And there's 50. I've given a bunch of books about herbs. There's also many other books. You have there's many, child. We talk about 20,000 Secrets to Tea. I just talked about Working the Roots that has a list of herbs in it. I always talk about there's a Dr. Sabi herb book that's not really about Dr. Sabi, but somebody who studied Dr. Sabi. Yes, spiritual herbalism is also a good one. Of course, Yaya Louisa T, she has a bunch of herbs throughout her book, Jambalaya. There's a bunch of books that got herbs, y'all. Um, y'all can put some of y'all faves, keep putting some of y'all faves in the chat. DNA. We still in step 3. Keep that in mind. We still got DNA and candles to go. DNA, blood, hair with the follicle attached. Don't piss me off. Okay? Clipping somebody dead ends is not going to do a motherfucking thing. With the follicle attached. And you don't need much. 1 or 2 strands will do. Don't think you got to pull out a bitch braid. Not mine, of course. But, you don't need much. You ain't got the, you know. But let me tell you, this is why I'm giving y'all some little secrets here, okay? But not too much. I'm not telling you to do this, but this is how people do the things, huh? When I was younger, one of my elders, I told y'all this before. Oh, Lord, let me do this. So, gathering the hair could be done in multiple ways, okay? Gathering the hair could be done in multiple ways. Yes, Eve's Bayou style, you could get it out of a comb or a hairbrush, but there's different ways you could get it, okay? Now, um, blood, and of course the blood, y'all know blood can be gathered in multiple ways. You could use somebody's band-aid. And again, I'm not advising that y'all root somebody, but we're here to talk about their things. We're gonna talk about the motherfucking things, okay? Let's not pretend. Okay. You could get somebody's band-aid. If somebody bleeds on a tissue or cuts themselves or nick themselves. I can't keep pausing it because I could be telling y'all stories for days, honey. I can tell y'all stories for days. Okay. But all I'm gonna say is, you want to play a little fun game? I don't know nothing. Okay. They talking about pause it, pause it, pause it. So as I was saying, blood can be gathered in multiple ways, right? Of course, menstrual blood, things like that. Nail clippings, which very easy to get nail clippings of your own or somebody else's if that's what you want. Saliva. Y'all know saliva, that's very easy, things like that. Of the person that you desire to root. So blood, hair with the follicle attached, nails, saliva, etc. of the person you desire to root, including yourself. And the reason I said yourself is because the second part I have here is the mojo bag versus the fixing bag, right? If you're doing a mojo bag for yourself, it'll have your own DNA in it. And it could be any of those categories. And again, we already did a whole conversation about DNA. That's in the Patreon. Y'all can type DNA. Those notes and that conversation with details should pop up for you easy, right? But my point is, if you are going to do a bag for yourself, the mojo bag, which we talked about before, you need to have your own DNA in it. But if you're going to do a fixing bag for somebody else, you should have, or do a root, a fixing or laying down a root of somebody else, you should have their DNA in it. You don't have to, but it'll be much, much easier if you have their DNA in it, but it's not mandatory. Okay. Now, this is the last part of step 3. The candles. Different candle colors, as we know, have different meanings. First and foremost, I meant to look through the book before we started it to get the page number. If anybody has Jambalaya by Yaya Louisa Tish, please find in the book her list of candle colors and purposes. It should be in the back of the book somewhere. It's in that section where she has like the spiritual bath notes and stuff like that, I believe. But if you could just look in that back part of the book and get the page number for people to reference. But anyway, she has a good reference. Now, I can't recall off the top of my head, but I think her reference was based on like Orishas, because as we know, Yaya Louisa Tish is all about, thank y'all. So, because it's 2 different versions of the book, so it could be 230 or 262. It's 2 different versions. It's the same version, but it's a new edition that she did, right? So check those pages, okay? But Hers is based off the Orisha. So what I'm about to give you is going to be based off traditional hoodoo, Gullah Geechee hoodoo specifically, but also some of them have common crosses across with the Orisha. Okay. Common candle colors: blue, of course, for water, flow, divine feminine, a blue candle. Also, anything dealing in communication, right? Anything dealing with speaking, the ability, like some people like to do workings for themselves to be a better speaker or to manifest the speaking engagements or something like that, right? That would be blue, all about communication, right? White is neutral. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. White is my go-to, baby. White is my go-to. I keep 50, 11,000 white candles. Only time I, not only, but so I do it if my spirit leads me, but also if I feel like the root, if I don't have one of the, like if I don't have the DNA of somebody else, I'll then get more specific with my herbs and with my candle colors and other things. So I could be very, if I don't have the DNA, right? But the white is neutral, it's easy to set. White be your go-to. Green for prosperity, healing, or war, but depending on the type of war working. Okay? There's different types of war working. There's war working where you want the person to still live. There's war working where you don't care what happens to the person. Okay? Your green is war working with compassion. War working with compassion. Red is for your war working with no compassion, no empathy, no sympathy, death. You don't care either way. Also powerful, super powerful, power, trying to manifest more power in the area. Red, to speed up the process of something. Remember I said like it may be a manifestation working and you need to speed, or a healing working or a removal or a dispelling working, you need to speed up the process of this. That could be a red candle. Black, dispelling, getting rid of, left hand work, also removal, protection, things like that. Trying to protect yourself against something, from something or somebody, trying to get rid of something or somebody. That can be a black candle. Okay. I meant to put, I said white is neutral, but white is also good for revelation and clarity. Black is also good for cloaking. Okay, if you want to intentionally hide something, you want to cover something, let's say you have a secret, because some people do this now. Some people have secrets that they want to keep from family that they want to cover up. You can do a root for that. You can do a root to cloak something in your life, to cover up something in your life, to hide something in your life. For example, if you have a pregnancy that you want to hide, right? And let me tell y'all something. When I get pregnant, I ain't telling the motherfucker. I'm putting a black candle on my pregnancy for protection, and I'm cloaking my pregnancy from the world. Y'all, you would never know. You would never know. Okay? Because you got to be careful. And there's many reasons why you have to be careful for that. Come on, that's common sense stuff now. Okay? Yellow. Yellow for love, healing. Yellow could also be for clarity. Yellow could be for love. Anything healing centered around the womb could also be yellow. Anything centered also around the mind, the brain can be yellow as well. Clarity as well. Again, that's all about healing the mind. All right. Clearing your path clearing, being the guiding light, manifesting lights, beauty and glamour. Yes, that could also be yellow. Okay, white can also be blue, beauty and glamour. Beauty and glamour. You get you a white candle. It could be yellow as well, though. But you get you a white candle. You put some good rose in it, because remember, you can also dress your candles now. Okay, you can dress your candles. So you could dress up a good white candle or a yellow candle as well. Purple for transitions, including birth or death. So if you're trying to do it, remember the work in the root. If you're trying to transmute an energy, a purple candle is going to be your go-to. So you got an energy in your life, but you just want it to change or move or shift or transform in certain ways. Or you trying to manifest a move, a purple is going to be your go-to. Okay. So that's all for step 3. What element, herb, DNA, candle, and other tools? When I say other tools, there could be a variety of other tools that you can utilize as a part of your working, right? Variety of other tools could include adding money, adding coins, adding a variety of different things, right? It's up to you, but you gather everything that is centered around your working. So a variety of other tools that are aligned with your intention and gather these items. And that's the conclusion of step 3. Okay. Step 4, yes, rice as well, many things, corn, many things. Step 4, what is the best place to plant your root? Now, this is the laying of the root, right? Because some things, sometimes with a root, you could do a mojo bag or a fixing bag and take it with you. The thing about a bag is that you have to carry it everywhere. And if you're trying to work somebody else, they have to carry it everywhere. Or you can plant it, right? So you can add all of your workings, all of your items except the candle. You can add it to the bag, right? But you would lay the bag in front of the candle or behind the candle, depending on what type of work. And if it's right hand, you can put it in front of the candle. If it's left hand, you can put it behind the candle before you give the person the bag or plant the bag, right? Now, to plant your root, where are you gonna plant your root? You ain't planting it yet. This is where you deciding where you gonna plant the root. If it's a root for yourself, right? Let's say if it's a abundance root, something you're trying to manifest, attract, you can plant that on your property. You can even plant that in a literal plant in your household, right? So what are you planting? What all are you planting? You could again create a bag and plant that whole bag. When I say create a bag, you'll have your intention in there, you'll have your herbs in there, you'll have some of your other tools in there, you'll have your DNA in there, etc. You can plant that bag in a plant or on your property somewhere. If it's for dispelling, for getting rid of, you could plant that at or war working. You could plant that at a railroad track. You could plant that in a cemetery, graveyard, etc. Okay. If it's for manifesting, attracting, you could release it to the water. You're planting it in the water. You're releasing it to the water. If it's something dealing with the earth, you put it by a tree, right? So something that you want to stay in your life, but grow and prosper and be abundant, you'll put it by a tree. Okay. If it's something that you want to transmute, change, you could also leave that in the middle of, we say in the middle of nowhere. So you could leave that in the middle of the forest. You could leave that on a trail somewhere. You could leave that in the middle of nowhere. What's funny is oftentimes y'all ever see those videos like on TikTok and stuff, and people say, "Oh, I was walking down the street and just stumbled upon this offering," right? They stumbled upon a sacrifice that you probably was a transmute working. And you just supposed to leave that in the middle of nowhere. So that's why they didn't find it in the wood. People be like, why they just left it in the parking lot? Because you would leave it in a place like a parking lot in the middle of nowhere, a path, a trail somewhere. You just leave it in the middle of nowhere, right? And that's completely fine. Okay. Um, let's see. So where do you want to plant your root? You have to decide that. That was 4. 5. Now this is going to be important here. What spirit energy is guarding your working? What spirit energy is guarding your root? And what offerings are you giving that energy? You need to gather those too. Every root is guarded by an energy. Now, what could be the energy of a root? Yes, the energy could be a Orisha. The energy can also be an ancestor, right? It could be one of your ancestors. It could be one of their ancestors. Yes, people can feed your ancestors to work you. Surprise, surprise. People can feed your ancestors to work you. They can appease your ancestors to calm them while they work you, right? People can do that. And this is why it's important for you to be the number one venerator and feeder of your ancestors. Okay? That's why you have to do that. All right? You need to be the number one. Nobody should be able to feed your ancestors before you do. Okay? Always remember that. All right? So, what is the energy that is guarding your root? What is the energy that is guarding your root, and what offerings are you giving that energy? Is it one of your ancestors? Is it one of your spirit guides? Is it an Orisha? What is the energy that is guarding your root, and what offerings are you giving that energy? Gather that too. Now, what I think we on like 6 or something like that. I think we on 6. Based on your, because I got them bullet pointed instead of numbered. Okay, so I think we on 6. Based on your intention, how can you elevate your root? All we, even after you, and I want you to literally save 6 for 6, because you will not fully know this until you have your entire root gathered and you have in mind where you're gonna plant your root. And oh, let me go back to the planting your root. You could plant, if the root, I forgot to talk about if you're fixing somebody else, right? I talked about the war, talked about if you're doing something for yourself, da da da. You can also plant stuff on their property too. If you're fixing somebody else, you can plant it. And that's also healing. Again, fixing ain't always a bad thing. If you're doing a healing worker for somebody, you can plant it on their property or you can plant it in their home. Okay. But also, if it's not a healing worker and it's something else, you can plant it on their property. You can plant it on their home. You could fix somebody and plant the planet on their property, plant it in their home. That's also why you need to be careful who you let in your house. Huh? And let be walking around your house. Okay. I remember I had to go in on my sister one day because my sister was staying at my house. My sister is she still got the paranoia heavy. Okay. So a lot of this stuff, one time we went to Afropunk, this guy recognized me from socials and he wanted to take a picture. He asked to hold my hand. My sister said, uh-uh. My sister's that level of dope. Hold on for what? So, okay. But me and my sister had to have a good talk after, right? Because this particular time, my sister was at my house and somebody I was cool with came to the house. And the only reason I invited her to my house is because my sister was at my house. And I thought that my sister was going to watch her and make sure that she ain't going nowhere in the house. But my sister, and we talked about it after, she said, well, I ain't think that you would let somebody in your house that you ain't care walking around your house. I said, no, I let her here because you, Miss Don't Play, Miss Vulture. Miss Watching like a motherfucking hawk. I thought that you was gonna make sure she stayed in the living room. My sister said no. I thought that you. So we had to have that talk, and she was right, right? Because that's how we grew up. You shouldn't be inviting somebody to your home that you don't trust to be in your bedroom and to be walking around, right? So we had to have that talk. Learned the lesson, huh? And she a cool sister or whatever, but she was just cool. If my sister wasn't there, I wouldn't have invited her. My sister said, whether I'm here or not, you still shouldn't have invited her. All right. So she was right. She was right. But that's why you have to be careful because somebody could literally plant a root in your home or take something from your home that they could use in a root against you. Right. So just be mindful of that. But like I said, I was on, what was I on? 6. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6. Based on, thank you, D. I should have looked up for. Okay, based on your intention, how can you elevate your root? For 6, elevating your root. You won't know how to elevate your root until you have gathered all of your items. Your spirit will guide you on how to elevate your root. When you think, trust me, I'm telling you from experience, baby, when you think you have everything, your spirit will say, and another one, and another one. You know what we could use? A little of this. You know what'll be great? A sprinkle of that. And another one. Okay? So even when you think you have everything, and this is why I want you to wait until you got everything. And then I want you to sit with it and look over your items. And your spirit is, trust me, your spirit gonna say, you need a little bit of this. Always get that little bit of that. I don't even care if you gotta pause there's been times where I've been like, shit, my spirit is telling me I need to add such and such. I'm gonna have to do this tomorrow because I'm gonna go to the store and get that such and such. I'm gonna do this tomorrow. Gotta do it tomorrow. And you could be good and ready, okay? Had took your spiritual bath, had did your things, had cleaned that, you be good and ready. And spirit say, bitch, black salt. Be like, damn, I ain't got no motherfucking black salt. I ain't even got no charcoal in here to make it. You can make black salt with charcoal and pink Himalayan sea salt or white sea salt. You can make black. I ain't even got no motherfucking more charcoal to make no goddamn shit. I'm gonna have to go to the store tomorrow. Gotta do it all again. Okay, now the item's still gonna stay gathered, but right, Rose, literally. But that's what it is, right? So always add that little catalyst. And I'm saying that little extra because the catalyst means it's going to speed it up. It's going to make it happen faster, right? So that was six. Um, seven, protect yourself. This is when you're going to get into preparing the route because now you got all your items and tools, your elements, everything. You got your intention there. You got everything. You already know where you're going to plant it. You got your catalyst. You're going to speed it up. Protect yourself and cleanse and set the intention for all products and tools. This is when you're going to get to working. Now, how do you protect yourself? I shouldn't even have to explain this. We've talked about this when we talked about doing your manifestation work. You're going to protect yourself the same way you would when you do your candle working, the same way you do after you take a spiritual bath. You got to protect yourself. Y'all say in the chat, what are some things you should do? If you about to work a route and you need to protect yourself, what are some things you should do? What are some things you should do? Cover your crown, smudge yourself down, take a bath, I'm not seeing the main one. Cover your crown, of course, your protection oils, cleanse yourself. What should you have on, y'all? Wear your whites. Come on now. Come on now. Come on now. Come on now. You wear your whites. You wear your whites. Unless, unless, unless. When should you cloak in black? When should you cloak in black? There are some, and it's not mandatory. It's not mandatory at all. But there are some times that you should cloak in black. There are some times. You can cloak in black when you are doing a protection working, a cloaking working, or a revelation working where you are trying to remove the cloak or the veil from somebody else. There's a revelation working. You want to know your partner cheating, your man cheating? That's when you could cloak in black. Because you want to work with the cloaking energy. You have to connect with the energy of the cloaking or the veil that they have. And you bringing it to the light. You're doing your revelation working, your clarity working. Okay. But white is fine for that as well. Okay. Black is for that extra razzle dazzle. I'm be honest with, for me, I cloak in my black when I feel like I'm on my motherfucking mysterious bank robber shit. When I'm trying to get in there, that's when I cloak in my black. When it's a working where I'm like, I need to get in this motherfucking business. Huh? I need to know. That's when I wear my black. Okay? But your whites, sometimes you're black. Okay? So you protect yourself. You take your bath, you cloak in your whites or your blacks. You wear your protection herbs or your protection oils like your clary sage. You can also do your Palo Santo oil, etc. Your frankincense and myrrh is also fine. You wear your protection oils, whatever is protection for you, right? You cover your crown, make sure your crown is covered and protected. Put that hair up, everything, right? That's another thing. I be cracking up when folk be talking about I'm working the root, working the root. Now, if it's for yourself, the hair down is fine. But you can't be trying to fix somebody else and your own hair dangling over the root, bitch. Your own hair dangling over the root. You trying to fix somebody else and your DNA slipping up in the motherfucking root. And that shit backfire. You wonder why. Whole fro hanging out, little twist out hanging out over the root. And you wonder why you got fucked up. Because, bitch, you in there too. You in the jar with them. The hell? Right, rookie mistake. Come on, Rose. So be smart now. Be smart, right? So we still in seven. Protect yourself, cleanse all of your tools, cleanse everything, and set the intention for everything. Now, this is the very time-consuming portion because each item, you're literally smudging it to cleanse it. You could do that. And smudging doesn't necessarily mean that you have to hold the item up and put the sage. What I like to do is have me a smoke bowl and I hold each item over the bowl, right? Of course, you want to do this with the windows and doors open, etc. Cleanse each of these items. You're holding on to the items, set your intention for it. Okay. Now, in your hands, when you set your intention, depending on what whatever oil is on your hands, when you set your intention, depending on what the intentions are, right? It depends. So even your oils that's on your hands, when you set your intentions for your tools and for your items, it should be in alignment with what the root is, the intent of the root and how you work in the root. Okay. Now, that was seven. Eight. Eight. Go to your place. Go to your place. Okay. Because now you done set your intentions and you done did all the things. You want to go to your place with all of your tools and all of your items. When I say go to your place, I'm talking about the place where you plan on planting. Okay. Now, if you want to, some people they like to prepare their stuff, and also, of course, depending on this left hand or right hand. Some people like to prepare their stuff with like beforehand, right? So they like to prepare their items and things like that before they get to the destination. For me personally, if I'm going like if I'm doing like a forest or a tree something, I like to prepare my items. And also if I'm doing stuff alone, I like to prepare my items there. Now, if I'm going to do something where I'm gonna be with a group of people, I prep ahead of time, right? So for example, there's been times where I got to work in for myself. I'm trying to manifest for myself. And I go to the water with a group of friends, right? I'm going to have my things gathered before I get there. Okay. And then we do a group release. And then I go off to the side and I do my personal release. When I'm doing something for myself, I don't never release with a group, even a group of the most trusted beings I love. Even with a group of the most trusted sisters, most trusted friends, I still don't release stuff for myself. Okay. I remember one time, some friends and I'm gonna be very vague here, so I don't need to pause. Some friends and we was together, and it was one friend who just kept pressuring. She was like, can we just can we do let's do so we should go to the water and we should read out our things out loud. I ain't reading a motherfucking thing out loud. I don't want it. I love you, girl. I'm not reading nothing. I'm not releasing nothing that's personal for me in attachment with nothing for nobody else. Because let me tell you something. Even people who love you don't realize when they're trying to pull from your energy. When you are a very blessed person and you are a very abundant person, people love doing manifestation workings with you. People love doing abundance workings with you. Why do you think that is? When you are a very blessed, abundant person, you got to be careful of people wanting to do spiritual stuff with you when they in turmoil. I don't want nothing of mine attached to nothing of yours. I'll give you step by step of how to do it for you, but I don't want nothing of mine attached to nothing of yours. And I love y'all dearly, and I've told y'all this before. This is another reason why I'm not a fan of group prayers and group manifest. I'm not a fan of none of that stuff because I don't want nothing of mine. I love you dearly, but I don't love you enough to attach my energy to you in that way for working. I don't want my root attached to your root. I love you dearly. But this is why we don't do that in the wellness community. We don't. We don't. Okay. I love you dearly. I will give you step by step of how to do it for you. But I don't want my root attached to nobody else's root. Okay. So gather step 8. Let me read it again because I see some people missed it. Uh, Go to your place with your items already prepared, or be prepared to prepare your items there. Get your root together. What does it mean to get your root together? That because you've already cleansed your stuff, your items, your tools. You've already set the intention. Now, wherever you're going to plant it, you need to be prepared to plant. So you need to dig. Okay, if it's at the base of a tree, if it's going to be at the railroad tracks, you don't have to dig at the railroad tracks, but you need to like make a little safety nestle at the railroad tracks. If it's going to be in the water, you need to go walk out to the water a little bit. Don't ever plant your stuff on the shore of the water unless it's a manifestation something. And I learned this in Cuba. Something I learned in Cuba. If it's a manifestation something and you have money that's like dripped in honey and things like that, you can leave things that you want the children or people of the community to prosper and multiply. That's a good tip to manifest money fast. If it's a money working, you can bless the money, drip it in honey and cinnamon and all of those things and leave it at the shore of the water. And you can leave it in a jar or leave it in a pouch, but something where the people can see it, and especially the children to see it, and they'll take it and wash that money off in the water, and they're gonna let that money dry and go splitting that money. And I learned that in Cuba, at the Ocean River in Cuba, right? You go to the Ocean River, there will be people there for a variety of reasons, some planting money and some there to pick the money, right? And you don't be concerned about who picks the money, but that's the only time you'll leave your stuff at the shore of the water. Other than that, you walk it out there and release it, right? So you need to be prepared to plant your root, and then you release your root. You plant your root however you need to based on what it is. If it's going to be planted at the tree, at the base of a tree, you would literally each item, you're setting your intention and praying over that item, and you're putting it in the hole at the base of the tree. Okay. If you're in the water, you're praying over your item and you're releasing it out to the water. Okay. Now, could you do this all at one time? Could you have a basket? You already set your intentions. You already prayed over your item. You're at the water and you just are ready to go. So you just release it all to the water. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. As you're praying, you could just release your whole basket. But ideally, one by one, one by one, one by one, one by one, ideally. Okay. Ain't no, hold on one second. My cousin coming back in. I say, ain't no such thing as quiet. Ain't no such thing as quiet. Okay. She's talking about, I'm sorry. Ain't no such thing as quiet with Salam, child. Just come on in. Come on in. Okay. But yeah. So you can pray over your items and then you can release them and plant them. This is the called planting your root, right? Now, if this, of course, this step wouldn't apply if it's a mojo bag. If it's a mojo bag, you create your bag and you will just wear your bag or carry your bag with you on a regular basis. That's planting your root if it's a mojo bag. Okay. So that was 8. Um, 9. Once the root is planted, if the root is for you and your wellness, or for someone else and their wellness, you want to first back away at least 3 large steps, and then you could turn away from it and walk away. This is going to be key. If the root is left hand, war, anything like that, the spelling, you want to turn your back to it immediately after it's planted and walk away. Okay. Now, different people have different traditions. Let me tell you, one of my elders, and this is, I practice this sometimes if I feel led. If it's a manifestation route or something I want to elevate, I pull, as I'm backing away, I pull the energy towards me. So you back away and you'll do a movement like this, like scooping the energy, pulling the energy towards you as you take 3 large steps back and then turn around and walk away. If it's a releasing, dispelling, something you want away from you, you push away, push away, push away, and you just keep doing that as you're praying. I release this energy, remove this energy. Nothing walks with me, nothing carries with me. And you're saying this as you turn around and you walk away from it. Okay, so the difference is if it's for the spelling, if it's left hand work, turn your back to it immediately as you push the energy away and you walk away. If it's for manifestation, abundance, right hand, you bring the energy towards you, you take 3 large steps back, and then you turn and walk away. Okay. And step 10, the final step, you go home. Of course, you cleanse yourself off. Cleansing yourself, you're going to take another shower. Yes, I'm sorry, you got to wash your ass again. Okay, sorry, got to wash your ass again. Okay, you're going to shower, okay, or bath, or take a bath. Cleanse your energy, cleanse your physical body, smudge yourself down. Of course, after a good working, you need to protect yourself again. And protecting yourself, you could just, of course, smudge yourself down after you get out the bath. Make sure you put your drops of clary sage or your palo or whatever oil is for your protection behind your ear on your sacred energy points. You could dress in your whites, or I'm a nude girl, honey. My version of dressing in whites when I'm sleepy after a good working is I just rub myself down in coconut oil. Coconut is a part of the whites. I rub myself down in coconut oil. That's my dressing in whites. That's the most dressing in whites you're going to get out of me. Okay. I'ma rub down in coconut oil, put on my clary sage, and I'm in that bed. Okay. So that's a part of the dressing in white. And you need to make sure you rest after every working. This is one of the reasons why I don't know if they in here, so I ain't gonna say no names, no business. But this is one of the reasons why y'all remember a while ago we was on live with some TWC members again. This is being recorded, so I ain't gonna say no. But oh, I could pause it. So the rest is going to be the last and final portion of step 10. After you go home, you cleanse yourself down, protect yourself, you need to get good rest. And I would say, of course, you can still do your prayers and your traditional stuff, but I'm talking about everything we just discussed as far as going into a route. I would say you need to wait at least a good 24 hours or more. You will know when you are ready to work another route when you don't feel like you've worked a route. When your energy just feels refreshed and reset, etc., that's when you will know you are ready. Okay, so that's it, family. That we talked about what a root is. We talked about who can work a root. We talked about who can be rooted. We talked about the 10 steps and all of the many steps that go into working a root. That is it. I love y'all dearly. Be mindful, be intentional. Ask yourself if it's going to be left hand. Ask yourself, is it justifiable? Are you open and prepared to deal with the possibility of a reversal? Don't try to skip any of these steps. Don't try to skip any of these steps. Do all of them. Don't even ask me, oh, well, do I have to try to have as many of the items as you can? Your spirit will tell you when it's right. And when I say when it's right, I'm talking about when the root is ready to be worked. When you have everything, your spirit will tell you when it's right and you have everything. Okay? And it's time. You will know. You will know. If you have to even question it, it's not ready, you don't have everything, and you don't know. When you know and you have everything, you will know. You will know. Okay? You will know. And if you were late, you just got to catch the replay when you catch the replay.